Middle and upper primary, welcome to term 3. Within term 3, you will continue to draw from the middle and upper primary section of the homepage that has embedded resources for your use. In terms of planning, remember, this diagram represents your Tier 1 students, where students are where they should be, a little bit above, a little bit marginally behind, but Year 3 should be located in this band, Year 4, Year 5, Year 6, the Tier 1 students. Inevitably, there will be Tier 2 students marginally behind that, a stage or two, Tier 3 students, 3, 4 stages significantly behind their age-matched peers. Remember, the teaching sequence manual and the outlines is for your Tier 1 students and not for your Tier 2 and 3 students. So here we have Year 3, Term 3, a Year 4, Term 3, a Year 5, Term 3, and a Year 6, Term 3 outline. For your Tier 2 and Tier 3 students, Tier 2 a little bit behind, Tier 3 significantly behind, you need to locate their common errors and plan a process. Your Tier 1 students, we're going to try and put them on a overview and a plan close to where they should be operating for their year level. It can be a little bit ahead, a little bit behind, or exactly where they should be in the PLD process. Remember, you only identify the errors if students are Tier 2 or Tier 3. If they are age appropriate, what are we going to do? We're going to put them on these broad teaching sequences. If students are in stages 1, 2, or 3, there are 38 weeks, 4 terms of teaching outlined. If students are stages 4, 5, and 6, there are 5 terms, 45 weeks of teaching that is outlined. Please do not just teach the common errors or the 16 errors and after a couple of terms moving students through that sequence. If they are delayed, that is exactly what we are going to do. We're going to only teach a core amount of each stage. If they are relatively age appropriate, you are going to slow down and you're going to present to those students a broad-based program. So is it necessary to identify all the phonic errors? No. If they are Tier 1, if they're Tier 2 and Tier 3, yes, you are going to need to identify the common errors and teach to that test. How do you determine if students are Tier 1, Tier 2 or Tier 3? Well, it's your placement test. So you present the placement test, you analyse the results according to the percentage converter. Here's how you mark when there's letter reversals or they get the phonic concept right or the word wrong. You put the scores onto the tracking sheet, you highlight what you're going to teach in the next 9 weeks for those groups, and then we cluster. And we cluster into 3 targeted teaching groups, sometimes pushing 2 groups together so that you don't end up with 5 or 6 groups. Your spreadsheet should look like rectangles, not patchiness. There should be nice linear rectangles with a nice description of what is the teaching plan for term 3. Red flags, also in your manual. Finished! I've done my testing and I've entered on the spreadsheets. No, you haven't finished, because where are steps 4, 5, and 6? There's no teaching plan there. There's just some basic data entry. A common red flag is when teachers think they've finished after just doing some highlighting. But step 5 and step 6 has not been completed. Down the bottom of the spreadsheet should be your Tier 1 students. In the middle of the spreadsheet should be your Tier 2 students. And at the top of the spreadsheet should be your Tier 3 students. And sometimes when you group them accordingly like that, you then find, I got 5 groups. So a couple of those groups you have to widen the focus and push them together and then describe. But this is not finished. You can't teach to data like that. Or, yes, here we go, I got 6 groups. Well, no. What we need to do is push 2 of those groups together or analyse the numbers and are some of the students capable of moving up, and then you need to describe what the plan is for those merged groups. Some reminders about good teaching practice, because data's only data. It's really important what you do with that data and how you teach as to how your students progress. It's important to remember that teaching spelling is teaching reading. When students can spell a word, guess what? They can also read the word. But if we teach our students to read the words, it doesn't mean that they can spell them. So by teaching spelling, you are automatically teaching reading. And we also know, just because they can read and spell the words does not mean that they transfer into their writing or that the students understand those words. And so these other elements are factored into the PLD process. But we do need to focus also on reading for a particular group of students. In your middle and upper primary teaching sequence manual, there is a really important page on how do you manage when you've got students that are operating at a junior primary level in a middle and upper primary class, and what is the common situation 1 and the common situation 2 that is recommended by PLD. For these particular students that are spelling at a junior primary level, we need to check on their reading. They may also be reading at a junior primary level, or some of the students might be spelling at a junior primary level, but their reading's actually quite good. But for a number of them, what you will find, their spelling is at a junior primary level, their reading's a bit higher, but actually it still is at quite a low level. So you have an early reading screen. That's your first port of call. Within the early reading screen, we're going to look at accuracy, but also is the student decoding or chunking, or are they reading the words as automatic whole words? Because we need a high level of accuracy, ideally 90, 95%, ideally 100%, but 90 or 95%. And ideally, that words are read automatically as whole words without decoding. What we're trying to do with that screen is then match appropriate reading material. If students, unfortunately, are at a vowel consonant and CVC level, what reading books do they require? And if they're in this band, what reading material do they require? PLD doesn't produce these books ourselves, but we definitely have mature middle and upper primary books that have junior primary phonic content. So a student entering year 4, 100%, 100%, 85, 50, 50. At some stage on that reading screen, where does accuracy drop to? And what's your plan? Where are you going to start to target? Somewhere in this realm or something, or even in these 2 realms, we're looking for reading material, and then to assess next term, and hopefully those numbers have moved. You have the option of using the phonic dictation passages for repeated reading. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Short reading passages to read at home during the week, or 2 readings on a Thursday, 2 readings on a Friday within the class process, and then engaging in that phonic dictation. Or you have the option of applying decodable reading material. Once students can read through that screen, there is one final check, and it's a words read correctly in 1 minute. So it's a really quick screen. And as long as the material has never been read before, you're to explain to students, I don't want you to do your fastest reading. What I'm looking for is your best reading, your most fluent reading, your most expressive reading. But read as best as you can, and I'm going to record it. And when the buzzer goes off, guess what? We're going to stop. But what I'm going to do is count up in that 60 seconds, how many words did you read correctly? PLD has a video with 2 demonstrations, one of a student reading stage 3 phonic dictation passages, and the other one in which the student is reading a graphic novel, and it's one of the back chapters they haven't got to yet that they read for 60 seconds. At the end of year 1, children should be reading 60 words correct per minute. End of year 2, 90 to 100 words correct per minute. Year 3 to 6, we're looking at 100 to 120 words correct per minute. And skilled adult readers should be reading around 180 words correct per minute. If we're getting that speed, that accuracy, that fluency, comprehension is maximised. As soon as we have a reduced rate of reading and reduced words correct read in a minute, comprehension is compromised. A few reminders on spelling and speech sound mapping. It's important Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that you explain and teach 4 words, 4 words and 4 words. You're going to explain what is the grapheme, what's the digraph, the trigraph, the syllable unit, the morpheme unit. You're going to sound out those words either in phonemes or in syllables. And for each of those 4 words, it's important to revise their vocabulary, particularly the tricky words. Speech to print, twilight, and then speak it, twi, and map it, light. The word is third, d. The word shed, shed, sh, and the d sound. This then, when students go back to their seats, they either engage in the Elkonin boxes and the alternating colours once or double time or triple time. The word might be delay with a schwa, but using our spelling voice, d-e, l, and the a that's at the end of the word, d-e, l, a, d-e, l, a, and now we're going to map it, d-e, l, and the a sound. A reminder on the dictation at least once to twice a week. If students are operating in stages 1 or 2, there are 2 readings on a Thursday and 2 readings on a Friday, or it can be engaged in that home process where home helps prepare the students for the Thursday and Friday rewriting by reading on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday and a Thursday. In that first reading, ideally there is decoding. The queen wanted a quilt. She wanted it quick. The second reading to read for fluency and with whole words. Then pencils down and listening. The queen wanted a quilt. The queen wanted a quilt. The queen wanted a quilt. What are you going to write? The queen wanted a quilt. Go and write it. So you're asking the students to put their pencil down, hold in their working memory. You're going to repeat, 3 words, 4 words, 5 words. If they're quite strong, you're going to give them more auditory information. You're going to repeat it 3 times. They're listening, they need to speak it back, and then they pick up their pencil and they write it. You can edit it at the end of every sentence, or you can edit it at the end of the passage. You also have access to the catch-up program so that we're not doing stories like A Pig in a Wig, but they are mature stories for middle and upper primary students still operating at that junior primary level. Stages 1, 2 and 3 within the PLD series have passages at 3 different lengths so that you can choose the right passage for students. My preference is always the longest passage because there's the most reading practice, and then even if only 3 lines are rewritten in dictation, there is not the expectation that you complete the whole passage, but in some situations you may want to present a shorter passage, and they are available. Once students get to stages 3, 4, 5 and 6, it's a single reading and then into dictation. Remember, there's support available through the website. But this concludes Term 3 Essentials for Middle and Upper Primary. Wishing you a great term's teaching and learning for your students, even though there will be potentially a significant range and ability in your class. Best of luck. If you found this information useful, don't forget to click the subscribe button and check out our related videos shown here. If you have any questions or feedback, please add them to the comments below and we'll be sure to respond. Otherwise, you can reach us via live chat on our website, pld-literacy.org. Thanks again for viewing.